Hi guys, welcome to Python tutorials series. In this video, I would like to discuss setter and getter methods in Python. Setters and getters in Python. What is a setter method? Setter method is a method used to set value to an attribute of an instance. Setter method is used to set value to an attribute of an instance. What is a getter method? Getter method is a method used to get value of an attribute of an instance. Getter method is used to get value of an attribute of an instance, guys. Let's understand with demo. Here I have Python IDLE shell and the Python file open. I am going to create a class. I create a class called as point, which is going to be an empty class. We know that once we create a class, we can create n number of instances from it, right? I say here point1 is equals to point. In the same way, I can create one more instance. I say here point2 is equals to point. You can see I have created two instances now, point1 and point2. Both point1 and point2 are empty instances. They don't have any attributes. They don't have any behaviors. To add attributes to point1 and point2, I am going to define a constructor. I say here def. How do we define constructor, guys? We say underscore underscore init underscore underscore. First parameter should be self. While creating point1 and point2, I want to pass name. So I give here a parameter called name. Okay. And here I say self dot name equals to the name that we pass. When I create point1 and point2, I pass the name. So here I pass the name point1 and here I pass the name point2. Now what happens? When we say point1 is equals to point, the constructor is called. Here self indicates point1. We know that self always indicates the current object with which we are working. The current object is point1 here. So self indicates point1. Point1 dot name. So what Python does? It adds name as an attribute of point1. And this point1 string is stored in the name. And that name is assigned to the name of point1. So point1 name will be point1, guys. Okay. When we say point2 equal to point, again the constructor is called. This time self indicates point2. In the point2 name attribute is added and its value will be set to point2. Name is a public attribute now. It is a public attribute. In the previous video, we discussed access modifiers. I told you that public members can be accessed directly anywhere in the script. I told you that public members can be accessed directly by their name anywhere in the script, right? You can see here, if I go back to Python file, if I say here print point1 dot name, to display the name of point1, I can directly use the attribute, the public attribute by its name. If I say here print point2 dot name, we don't get any error here. We'll get the output saying point1 and here we get the output point2, right? Point1, point2 is displayed, guys. Let me save this. Okay, I open the Python IDLE shell here and if I run this code, definitely we'll get the output point1 and point2 displayed. Now both point1 and point2 have attribute called name. Okay, and the name is a public attribute. Okay, now if I convert this name into a private attribute, how do we define private members, guys? Private members are prefixed with double underscore. Private members are prefixed with double underscore. So here I have done 2 times underscore, guys. Okay, now if I try to access the private member outside the class underscore underscore name underscore underscore name, we don't get point1, point2 displayed. Instead of that, we'll get the error, guys. We'll get the error saying attribute error. We'll get attribute error. We'll get attribute error. Why we get attribute error? Because private members should be accessed directly only inside the class where they are declared. Private members you cannot access directly by their name outside the class. So outside this class, you cannot access the private members. Okay, if I save this, go to Python IDLE shell and if I run, you see we got the error saying attribute error. There is no underscore name in the object point. That's what it is telling actually. Private members we cannot access directly by their name outside the class. Okay, but what I want is I want to get the name of point 1 and point 2. I want to display here the name of point 1 is point 1, the name of point 2 is point 2. I want to display this. Now how do I do that? Here comes the use of getters and setters, guys. Getter method is a method used to get value of an attribute of an instance, especially private and protected members, guys. You can see now I go back to the Python file, and here I am going to define a method which is going to have a name get underscore name, and it is going to have one parameter, that is self. What is its responsibility? Its responsibility is to return the name. So I say here return self dot underscore name. I can use the private members within the class, okay, by their name. So now instead of saying underscore name, I'm going to take help of the getter method. I say here get underscore name bracket. In the same way here I say get underscore name bracket. So when I say point 1 dot get name, here the self indicates point 1. Point 1 get name, point 1 underscore name, which is point 1, so it displays point 1. If I say point 2 get name, this time the self indicates point 2 because we are working with point 2. Point 2 underscore name, which is point 2, so we'll see point 1 and point 2 displayed here. So if I save this one, open the Python IDLE shell, and if I say run module, you see we are getting point 1 and point 2 displayed. So if you want to access the private members, okay, private members or private attributes outside the class, you should take help of the getters and setters. Getter method is a method is used to get value of an attribute of an instance, guys. Understanding? Now let's say I want to change the name of point 1 and point 2. In that case, we'll create the setter. Setter is a method used to set value to an attribute of an instance. So how do we define a setter? So here I say def set underscore name. It is going to have the parameter self, first parameter, and the second parameter is name, the new name that we want to assign. So here I say self dot underscore name is equals to name. So like this we can set the value to a private member here. Okay, so you can see here if I come down and say point 1 dot set underscore name, here I pass the name, let's say P1. Okay, I want to change the name to P1 here. In the same way I say point 2 dot set underscore name, the new name should be P2. Now what happens? So here when we say point 1 set name, what happens? Self indicates point 1. Point 1 dot underscore name should be P1. That's what we are sending here. So P1 is going to be the new name of point 1. In the same way here P2 is going to be the new name of point 2 underscore name here, right? You can see I'm going to copy this code and paste down. After setting the new name, definitely when you say get name, you will get here P1 point 1 dot get name, and point 2 dot get name displays P2. You can see here I'm going to save this and say run module. You see the new name is set to P1 and P2. Point 1 get name, it is displaying P1. Point 2 get name, it is displaying P2. So like this you create setters and getters, guys. Setters and getters. Let me delete all these things from here. Okay, I deleted. Now I'm going to add some more parameters here like x, y. Okay, I'm saying here self dot underscore x is equals to x that we give. Self dot underscore y is equal to y that we give. Here I have added two more private attributes, that is x and y. When we are creating point 1 and point 2, we should pass x and y also. So let's say point 1 x is 0 comma y is 0, and point 2 x is 10 and y is 20. So this time what happens? Let me delete this. When we create point 1, its name is set to 0.1, x will be 0, y will be 0. When we create 0.2, its name is set to 0.2, x is set to 10, y is set to 20. Okay, as we cannot access the private members directly by their name outside the class, I need to create setters and getters for these attributes. So how do I create? Let's start. Here I'm going to define set underscore name. It is going to have self parameter and it accepts the name, and here I say self dot underscore underscore name should be equal to name that we pass. That's the setter. Getter, define get underscore name. It is going to have single parameter, that is self. What is its responsibility? It is going to return. It is going to return self dot underscore underscore name. It returns the name. Okay. Next, I am going to create the setter getter for both x and y here. So what I say here, define set underscore x is going to have self and it accepts the x value. What it does, it sets the new value here. So self dot underscore underscore x should be equals to x. And I create a getter also, define get underscore x is going to have single parameter self. It is going to return the self dot underscore underscore x value. In the same way, I say define set underscore y. It is going to have first parameter self and it is going to accept the y value, right? And it is going to say self dot underscore underscore y should be equal to y that we pass, and we'll have a getter. So I'll say a def get underscore y. It is going to have single parameter self and it is going to return self dot underscore underscore y. So this is how we create setter and getter, guys. Responsibility of setter is to set the value. Responsibility of getter is to get the value of attribute. Okay, now if I come down here, I say print 0.1 dot get underscore name bracket. I am calling the get name method here. Get name, it returns the name. In the same way, I am going to copy this, paste. I say here get x and get y. So definitely you will see the output here. 0.1 get name displays 0.1. 0.1 dot get x will be 0. 0.1 get y will be 0. In the same way, I copy this code and paste down. I say here 0.2 get name, 0.2 get x, 0.2 get y. So here we see 0.2 displayed, x10, y20. If I save this and say run module, you see that we got 0.1 x0 y0, 0.2 x10 y20. So like this we can access the private and protected members, guys. If you want, you can set the new values by using the setters. So for example, I can simply copy this line of code from here, come down and say here set name. When you are setting the name, you have to pass the name. So here I say p1 and then I copy this, paste down, set x, the new x of 0.1, instead of 0 0, let me set it to 100. 0.1 set y to 200. Now I am going to get the new name, new x and new y. So if I come down and paste here, I save it and say run module, you see now we have 0.1 new name is p1, 0.1 x is 100, 0.1 y is 200. So like this you can modify the value of an attribute using the setter. Whenever you want to get, you can get with the help of getter, guys. So that is about the setters and getters. You can add more code if required, guys. I hope you guys have clearly understood what are setters and getters. Setter is a method used to set value to an attribute of an instance. Getter is a method is used to get value of an attribute of an instance, guys. I suggest you people to try this code. If you have any doubts, feel free to put them in the comment section. I'll be happy to clear, guys. In the upcoming video tutorials, we'll discuss more about Python in depth, step by step. For more benefits and be up to date, do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Keep learning, keep coding, keep sharing. Thank you guys. Thank you very much. See you in the next tutorial.